What you're about to witness isn't just another military aircraft. It's the moment everything changed in global power dynamics. For decades, nations have built their security on a simple premise. If you can detect an attack, you can defend against it. But what happens when a superpower deploys a weapon that can strike anywhere, anytime, without ever being seen? When America's new B-21 Raider can penetrate the most advanced air defenses on Earth as if they weren't there? The invisible revolution in strategic bombing is here, and it fundamentally reshapes the calculus of global security. For American allies, it represents unprecedented protection. For adversaries like China and Russia, it represents their worst strategic nightmare come to life. The question isn't just how the B-21 achieves this unprecedented level of stealth, it's what classified capabilities it possesses beyond what's publicly acknowledged. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this single weapons platform has military planners in Beijing and Moscow scrambling to respond, and why the security of billions of people hangs in the balance as great powers adjust to this new reality. Imagine this scene. Inside a hardened command bunker deep beneath Moscow, Russia's top military leadership receives a classified briefing. The atmosphere is tense as air defense specialists present their latest assessment of American stealth technology. Our S-400 and S-500 systems, the most advanced in the world, have a probability of detection against the B-21 Raider of essentially zero, explains the grim-faced general. 300 billion rubles invested in air defense, and we cannot see it coming. A similar meeting unfolds in Beijing, where Chinese military experts analyze the threat to their carefully constructed EIA-2/AD anti-access area denial networks in the South China Sea. Despite pouring billions into advanced radar systems, satellite networks, and electronic warfare, the conclusion is the same. The B-21 can penetrate their airspace with virtual impunity. This isn't science fiction or American propaganda. It's the cold reality of Northrop Grumman's B-21 Raider. Not just an evolutionary improvement in stealth technology, but a revolutionary leap that renders existing defense systems obsolete. Like a ghost that walks through walls of modern defense, the B-21 doesn't just evade detection, it makes detection physically impossible across multiple spectrums. The most terrifying weapon isn't the one that destroys you, but the one you never see coming. And right now, Beijing and Moscow are facing a phantom they cannot track, cannot target, and cannot stop. But how does the B-21 achieve this unprecedented level of invisibility that has America's greatest rivals scrambling to respond? The answer lies in technological breakthroughs that even America's previous stealth aircraft never achieved. You know that visceral feeling when something you've invested everything in suddenly proves inadequate? When your sense of security evaporates in an instant? That's the strategic trauma currently rippling through military headquarters in Moscow and Beijing. After investing hundreds of billions in creating layered defense networks, advanced radars, networked sensors, sophisticated surface-to-air missiles, they're confronting the existential dread that it might all be rendered useless. For decades, Chinese and Russian military doctrine has been built around defending sovereign airspace. Their legitimacy with their own populations rests partly on the promise of protection. The B-21 doesn't just threaten military targets, it threatens the very concept of defensive sovereignty that these regimes have promised their citizens. History has repeatedly shown how strategic bombers change the global power balance. From Germany's terror when facing Allied bombing campaigns to the Cold War equilibrium maintained by American B-52s, the ability to strike deep within enemy territory has always been a fundamental pillar of power. But never before has a bomber combined such stealth, range, and lethality in a single package. The strategic blindness created by the B-21 represents more than military disadvantage. The invisible threat creates a psychological warfare component that works continuously, even when no bomber is actually flying. The defensive failure becomes a constant anxiety for military planners who can never be certain their airspace is secure. What defines national security when your most vital assets can be struck without warning? How do leaders maintain strategic confidence when their multi-billion-dollar defense investments can be bypassed like they're not even there? China and Russia are frantically searching for answers, pouring resources into counter-stealth technologies and alternative detection methods. But are they already too far behind in a race they might be destined to lose? To understand why the B-21 represents such a paradigm shift, we need to trace the evolution of strategic bombing. The journey began with America's B-29 Superfortress in World War II, continued through the nuclear-armed B-52 Stratofortress of the Cold War, and reached new heights with the B-2 Spirit, the world's first true stealth bomber. But the B-21 Raider isn't simply the next step in this progression. It represents a revolutionary leap designed specifically to counter the most advanced defensive systems developed by China and Russia over the past 2 decades. The B-2 Spirit, while groundbreaking when introduced in 1997, was designed to defeat Cold War-era Soviet radar systems. China and Russia have since developed multi-band radars, infrared detection systems, and sophisticated electronic warfare capabilities specifically designed to detect stealth aircraft like the F-35 and B-2. The B-21 changes this equation completely. Its multi-spectrum stealth doesn't just work against one or two radar bands, it defeats detection across the electromagnetic spectrum. Its shape, materials, propulsion system, and electronic countermeasures are designed from the ground up to penetrate the most advanced integrated air defense systems on Earth. This creates a fundamental challenge to China's A2/AD strategy in the Pacific, which relies on keeping American forces at bay through layered defensive networks. Similarly, it undermines Russia's massive investment in its integrated air defense system, the most sophisticated in the world, but potentially blind to the B-21. The nation that masters invisibility writes the rules of global power. Throughout history, military advantage has gone to whoever could see farther and strike deeper than their adversaries. The B-21 represents America's determination to maintain this advantage well into the 21st century. Share if you've ever wondered how vulnerable your country truly is to advanced weapons that might already exist beyond public knowledge. But what makes the B-21 fundamentally different from previous stealth aircraft? The answer lies in 6 revolutionary capabilities that transform it from merely an advanced bomber to a system that rewrites the rules of aerial warfare. The B-21. Raider achieves its game-changing status through 6 interconnected innovations that, when combined, create a weapons system unlike anything the world has seen before. First, its multi-spectrum stealth represents a generational leap beyond previous aircraft. While the B-2 and F-35 were designed to defeat specific radar bands, the B-21 incorporates advanced materials, likely including metamaterials and carbon nanotube composites that absorb or redirect radar energy across all commonly used frequencies. Intelligence sources suggest it may be up to 1,000 times less detectable than the already stealthy B-2 Spirit. This means both Russia's S-400/S-500 and China's HQ-9 systems, designed specifically to detect American stealth aircraft, may be essentially blind to the B-21. Second, this stealth capability enables the B-21 to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace on Earth. Chinese military planners have spent decades creating layered defenses around Taiwan and the South China Sea. Russian strategists have done the same around Kaliningrad and key Arctic bases. The B-21 can potentially fly through these defenses without triggering a single alarm, striking crucial command centers, missile batteries, and communication nodes without warning. Third, the B-21's dual capability for both nuclear and conventional payloads gives it unprecedented flexibility. In a conventional role, it can deliver precision-guided munitions against high-value targets. As part of America's nuclear triad, it represents the only new stealth platform specifically designed for nuclear delivery, ensuring that America's nuclear deterrent remains credible against advancing air defenses. Fourth, and perhaps most revolutionary, is the B-21's integration with artificial intelligence and networked warfare. The bomber isn't designed to operate alone, but as the centerpiece of a system of systems architecture. It can coordinate with satellites, control loyal wingman drones, and feed targeting data to other platforms in real time. This allows it to serve as both a strike platform and a command node for an entire attack network. Fifth, the B-21's global reach transforms strategic calculations. With intercontinental range and aerial refueling capability, it can strike targets in China or Russia within hours from American bases. This complicates enemy defense planning enormously, as they must prepare for attacks from multiple vectors simultaneously. Finally, unlike the prohibitively expensive B-2, the B-21 was designed with cost efficiency in mind. At approximately $700 million per aircraft, compared to $2 billion for each B-2, the Air Force can procure them in meaningful numbers. At least 100 are planned. This transforms the B-21 from a niche capability to a force that could overwhelm even the most sophisticated defenses through simultaneous attacks from multiple directions. The B-21 isn't just a bomber, it's an entire ecosystem of networked warfare. Like an apex predator that hunts from complete darkness, it sees everything while remaining unseen itself. This fundamental asymmetry in capabilities represents the Achilles heel of Chinese and Russian defense systems that have no effective answer to this threat. But how are China and Russia racing to respond to this existential challenge to their security? Their counter strategies reveal just how seriously they take this threat. The strategic impact of the B-21 cannot be overstated. We are witnessing a paradigm shift from mutual vulnerability to potential first strike advantage. For decades, great power stability rested on mutual deterrence, the certainty that any attacker would face devastating retaliation. But what happens when one nation can potentially execute a disarming first strike with minimal warning? The strategic blindness created by the B-21 undermines the very foundation of strategic stability. For China, the vulnerabilities are acute. Its military modernization has focused heavily on creating creating a protective bubble around Taiwan and the South China Sea through layered defenses. The B-21 threatens to penetrate this bubble with impunity, potentially neutralizing key radar systems, missile batteries, and command centers in the opening minutes of a conflict. This capability fundamentally undermines China's A2/AD strategy and creates new calculations regarding Taiwan. Russia faces similar challenges. Its massive investment in integrated air defense, the most sophisticated in the world, represents the cornerstone of its security against NATO. The B-21's ability to bypass these defenses threatens Russia's most critical strategic assets, including mobile ICBM launchers, command bunkers, and Arctic bases. Even hardened nuclear silos could potentially be vulnerable to precision strikes without warning. Both nations are responding with desperate investment in counter-stealth technologies. China is pouring billions into quantum radar research, which theoretically could detect stealth aircraft using quantum entanglement principles rather than traditional radar waves. Russia is developing its own next-generation bombers and pursuing networked detection systems that use multiple sensors to identify stealth aircraft through non-traditional means. The nation that can't be seen while seeing everything holds the ultimate advantage. This defensive inadequacy forces China and Russia to allocate enormous resources to counter a threat they cannot currently track effectively. Their invisible vulnerability reshapes defense budgets, military doctrine, and strategic planning across both nations. But what does this mean for the future of global security? Does the B-21's invisible dominance make the world more stable through enhanced deterrence, or more dangerous through the temptation of consequence-free strikes? We've reached a pivotal moment in the evolution of military power. The B-21 Raider represents not just a new bomber, but a fundamental shift in strategic reality that China and Russia must now confront. The unstoppable arms race toward both perfect stealth and counter-stealth technologies will define great power competition for decades. The classified capabilities of the B-21 likely exceed what's publicly known, while China and Russia are undoubtedly developing countermeasures they haven't revealed. The ethical dimensions are complex. Weapons that can't be effectively defended against create profound questions about strategic stability. A capability that seems purely defensive from an American perspective represents an existential threat from Chinese and Russian viewpoints. This perception gap creates dangerous escalatory risks in times of crisis. The age of sanctuary is over, replaced by an era where nowhere on Earth is truly secure from precision strike. The B-21 doesn't just threaten military targets, but undermines the basic promise that nations make to their citizens, that the state can provide security against external threats. Comment stability. If you believe the B-21 enhances peace through strengthened deterrence, or danger if you think it makes conflict more likely by creating temptations for preemptive strikes. Subscribe to understand the technologies reshaping global security while others remain oblivious. Join a community that sees beyond headlines to grasp the strategic implications of revolutionary military capabilities before they reshape our world. In my next analysis, I'll reveal China's quantum radar program that could potentially defeat even the B-21 stealth, a scientific breakthrough that might ultimately reset the balance of power as dramatically as the B-21 itself. Understanding these developments isn't just for military enthusiasts. It's essential for anyone who wants to comprehend the forces shaping international relations and potential conflicts in the 21st century. The psychological impact of the B-21 extends far beyond its physical capabilities. In Beijing and Moscow, the mere existence of this platform fundamentally alters decision-making calculations. Chinese military planners must now consider that any Taiwan invasion scenario could be disrupted by weapons they cannot detect or track. Russian strategists face similar dilemmas regarding potential moves in Eastern Europe. This creates a mental burden that influences every aspect of their strategic planning. As Air Force Secretary Frank Hendel observed, the B-21 is not just a bomber, it's an ecosystem of stealth, adaptability, and networked warfare that's designed to survive the battlefield of 2040 and beyond. This ecosystem approach represents the true revolution, not just a single platform, but an integrated system of systems that fundamentally changes the relationship between offense and defense. In warfare, what you can't see determines what you can't prevent. The B-21 Raider doesn't just advance American capabilities, it creates an entirely new category of threat that will shape global power dynamics for decades to come.